Upadesa Sahasri 1863 said, Adarse mukh samanyam mukhasya istam hi manvai mukhasya pratibimbo hi mukhakarena drisite. Whenever there reflects a thing, the thing and its reflection are identified through lack of proper discrimination. In this way, everyone naturally says he knows, as if it was an act, that is, by identifying the reflection which is unreal with the self which is real. It is not an act because the only possible agent for such an act would be reflection of the self in the mind, and it has been shown that reflections are not realities. Here Śaṅkara introduces ābhāsa theory. The self is not a knower, and non-self also is not a knower. Who actually knows is called reflection of the self. Cidābhāsa, or reflected self, is very much similar to the self. Once similarity comes, there is a scope for confusion. Cidābhāsa is savikāram, or with modification, and self is nirvikāram, or without modification. Savikāratvam of Cidābhāsa is superimposed on the self, and the self also appears to have modifications, and therefore doer etc. And that is how all confusion arises. Reflection is formed in the intellect, and because of that, insentient non-self acts as though sentient doer. This reflection in intellect is called Ahaṁkāra, ego. Ahaṁkāra is intellect per Cidābhāsa. Ego does all interactions and it resembles the self. Hence, we call ego is I. Verse 64 says, Yatra asya ābhāsastu tayor iv abhivekta janati iti kriyam sarvo loko bhakti svabhavta. When in the intellect, consciousness gets reflected due to confusion, people naturally talk about the knowing. Here, three entities and two confusions are involved. One is chit, the original consciousness, second is intellect, and third is reflected consciousness. First mix-up is between intellect and the reflected consciousness, and the first confusion takes place in the form of ego. The second mixture is between ego and the self, resulting into second confusion. In this verse, Śaṅkara talks about the first mixing up between intellect and the reflected consciousness. Yatra yasya chaitanyasya ābhāsa, when in the intellect consciousness gets reflected, tayor iv avivekta, because of confusion between intellect and the reflected consciousness, janati iti kriyam bhakti, people talk about the knowing action. The knowing action belongs to the confused mixture. Neither it belongs to the consciousness nor to the intellect, but it belongs to savhas buddhi or buddhi sahit ābhāsa. Janati iti sarva loka kriyam bhakti. All people are talking about knowing action svabhavta, naturally. Verse 1865 says, Buddhe kartritvam adhyasya janati iti gya uchite tatha chaitanyam adhyasya gyatvam buddhe ih uchite. How the confusion takes place is explained here. Buddhe kartritvam adhyasya, modification of intellect, is superimposed on the consciousness. Janati gya uchite, people say consciousness is the knower. The knowerhood is superimposed on the consciousness by transferring modification of intellect. Tatha chaitanyam adhyasya, similarly consciousness, which belongs to the self, is superimposed on the intellect, and then buddhe gyatvam uchite, intellect is given the knowerhood. Thus, there is mutual transference of consciousness and modification. The self is said to be the agent of knowing things on account of superimposition of agency of intellect on it. Similarly, the intellect is called knower owing to the superimposition of consciousness on it.